Morning, guys. We're on Hebrews chapter 7, reading from verse 18 to 22. And we're just looking at how Jesus is the better high priest and how he's brought in a better covenant, the new covenant far greater than the old covenant. The writer's looking at different aspects of that. So in verse 18 it says, "For on the one hand, there is a setting aside of the former commandment, because of its weakness and uselessness." In the King James it says its unprofitableness. It's just doesn't have a use. It's not as good. It never accomplished what it set out to do. It never made the people completely clean. It didn't restore the relationship that had been broken through sin. Verse 19, "For the law made nothing perfect." It didn't bring about perfection. And on the other hand, there's a bringing in of a better hope through which we draw near to God. And so there's the priests had to make themselves clean and draw near, and they're the only ones who could have drawn near to God. And now this is a much better hope, a better covenant, because through Jesus now we can all draw near to God. And the temple is torn. We can all go through to the inner Holy of Holies if we have been washed and cleansed by Him. In Exodus 19:22 it says, "And let the priests who come near to the Lord consecrate themselves, lest the Lord break out against them." And so even the priests back then could have died, and God's wrath could have fallen on them, because even though they were trying to make themselves holy, they were sometimes imperfect. But we have become perfect, holy, blameless through Jesus, and so because of that we can now draw near to God. Verse 21, "For they indeed became priests without an oath, and he with an oath, through the one who said to him, 'The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind, you are a priest forever.'" And that's from Psalm 110, and it says, "You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek." And so God has sworn. He's made an oath. He's promised through himself. He is the highest source of authority, and that promise, that oath will come to pass. And so the new covenant is brought in through Jesus, who is the new high priest, who has made a far, far better covenant. As it goes on to say in verse 22, "So much the more also Jesus has become the guarantee of a better covenant." So he becomes the guarantee. God has made an oath, and he has brought his son to pay the price for sin, and brought in the new and better covenant. In Romans 8 verse 3, regarding this better covenant, it says, "For God has done what the law, weakened by the flesh, could not do." The law could not save. "By sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin he condemned sin in the flesh." And so he had to send his Son in the form of flesh, in the form of man, to die in the place for man, to undo the sin that man has committed. So carrying on in verse 13 of Hebrews, "And speaking of a new covenant, he makes the first one obsolete." He's abrogated, it's done away with, it's obsolete, because it was imperfect, because it never accomplished what it set out to do. And what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away. And so we cannot hold on to the past, we cannot hold on to the old system. It can never make us clean. And so today we look back and we hold on to Jesus, who is the better covenant and who can make us completely clean. And so Galatians 3 explains how we do this. "Now it's evident that no one is justified before God by the law, for the righteous shall live by faith." And so we receive that better covenant, we receive that righteousness just by believing, just by faith alone. That if you receive Christ today through faith, you can draw near to God and you'll be reconciled back to God. Amen.